In this video I added your weirdest weapon ideas to my game. Yeah, this is a mistake. Before, my game only had 3 weapons, so I made the mistake of asking you guys for ideas. Let's see how bad this gets. Explosive duck. Yeah, we can work with that. So first I made a rubber duck in Blender. But it isn't really an explosive duck, so I put it inside the bomb. But something was still missing. Now that's what you call an explosive duck. Now we just put our little explosive duck into Roblox to do what the Well, that's a big duck. That's much better. I added the texture, an outline and made the player throw the duck. But last time I checked, throwing a rubber duck at someone doesn't really do any damage. So it's time for the fun part, we make it explosive. I spent the whole 5 minutes making a professional explosion. Now some might say this looks like an orange planet, well it kinda does. Anyways, now when I throw this duck, there should be a cool explosion. Now when I throw this duck, there should be a cool explosion.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
I fixed the explosion, but there's a tiny little problem. It explodes in a completely random place. Turns out I'm just stupid and forgot to attach the explosion to the duck. And I also added some sounds. And now we have explosive ducks. But trust me, it gets worse. Next up we got a bowling ball. So I went to Blender and painted over a sphere to make it look like a bowling ball. And I swear I see a face in it. So to make it look less like a face and more like a bowling ball, I painted some patterns on it. It still looks like a face. So now we just make the player throw it at the enemies. That should be easy. Now I'm no expert, but I don't think this is how bowling balls work in real life. So we just make it bigger and make it roll and shoot in the direction the player is looking. And now we make the enemies fall over when they're hit by the bowling ball. Now this works perfectly except for the part when they stand up like they're competing in the Olympic high jump. As much as I wanted to leave that in, I fixed it and now they stand up normally. Now for the best part. In bowling there's this thing called a strike if you knock over 10 pins. You know where I'm going with this? Oh no, I'm getting chased by a horde of zombies that are conveniently placed in a straight line. Luckily I can do this. Okay, let's see what's next. Laserfish. Does it get any weirder? So let's quickly make a fish model. And by quickly I mean spend 5 hours turning a cube into a fish just for it to look like a carrot. But luckily I have a special trick up my sleeve. We give it a rematch modifier. And we are back to square one. So I spent some more time making a fish and not a carrot. That looks a little better. And then I texture painted it. And here it is in game. Now we need to figure out how the laserfish even work. And I found a perfect idea. It orbits the player and shoots lasers at enemies. So we need to make a laser. Luckily Roblox has this thing called the beam, which I'm pretty sure is just a fancy word for laser. So we just put a ball inside the fish mouth and boom, laser. Okay, it needs some work. Now this is a laser. Next step, orbiting the player, which turned out to be way harder than I expected. It only worked as long as you stood completely still. The moment you moved, server delay kicked in and the fish stopped orbiting and started following you. I thought it would be an easy fix, but I couldn't be more wrong. I spent the next 3 days trying to fix it. But of course I'm not going to give up until I fix. I'm done with this stupid fish. It's not a bug anymore, it's a feature. So yeah, now it's a spinning fish following the player and not orbiting. Also, the old laser looked bad, so I made it better. And now we have floating fish shooting lasers. What the... Next up is chainsaw. Now I don't want to brag or anything, but I would say I'm a genius for coming up with this. So how do I make a chainsaw spin? Great question. So first we make this weird shape in Blender, then we make a straight chain. And here's where my genius shows. We turn the straight chainsaw into a texture and put it on that weird shape from before. Now wait for it, we move the square up and down and the chainsaw spins. Also, wouldn't it be cool if this was like a cursed chainsaw thing? So I made it purple because it's common knowledge that purple things are cursed. Then I added some school particles using Roblox particle system, which is just like Unity's particle system but from Timo. And now we just attach it to the player and it should work. Yep, pretty sure this is how chainsaws work. So I fixed the attachments and now it actually works. But honestly, this might be the worst looking chainsaw ever made. So I had a new idea. Because it's a cursed magical chainsaw thing, what if the player holds two orbs and the chain goes between them? I'm an artist, I know. So I put two spheres on it and added some more particles using Roblox particle system, which is just like Unity's particle system but from Timo. Anyway, let's test it. And while it does a lot of damage, it's pretty hard to use. Also, it works great in first person. Okay, let's move on. Exploding orange juice that slows enemies. So I hopped into Blender and made the juice cartoon. I also made sure to add a very important label. Now we put it into Roblox. If you remember, we already made a throwing mechanic with the explosive duck, so I copied that and now we have exploding orange juice. But the comment said it should slow enemies, so I made it leave a juice pool that slows enemies when they step on it. My first idea was to do it with the texture, but it looked terrible. So I used Roblox particle system, which is just like Unity's particle system but from it worked, but there were two problems. First, it never despawned, and after a while the map just turned into orange gas. Second problem was there was no juice, you couldn't feel it. So I added some more particles using Roblox particles. Now it actually looks juicy. Then I coded the damage and slow effect. It doesn't do much damage, but it slows enemies a lot. And it works insanely well with size upgrades. And the best for last. A machine gun that shoots frog at the speed of sound. So as usual I started by making a frog in Blender. But after some time I realized this isn't going anywhere. This looks like I don't even know what, but it's definitely not a frog. Let's try again, but this time I studied frogs before modeling it. So you might think this looks like a hamster, but when we give him some arms, it's going to look like a frog. Trust me. Just like this and... what the f***? It's going to look good when we add legs. So you might think this looks like a weird spider, but when we add texture, it's going to look more like a frog than frogs do. See, it looks like a frog now. It looks like Kermit the Frog was run over by a car. Look, I tried. Now just make it work like a minigun. But it looks stupid because the frogs are flying sideways. So now we just make him fly straight and what the heck is happening? So I made him a bit thicker so he looks less like a pancake. And we also need to make the shooting feel more like shooting and not throwing. The perfect solution for this is a muzzle flash. I made it using the beam again. This is much better. Also I made the muzzle flash green because, well, because it's shooting frogs and frogs are green and stuff. And this is it now. It's extremely powerful but has a long cooldown. If you watch all of this, thank you for surviving. Drop more weapon ideas in the comments, I'm actually using them.